Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode, or this episode is 55 of the PD Sports Podcast. As you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, that it is Dame and myself once again here for another Premier League preview. Damo, how you going?
Not bad. Thank you, mate. It's another day to break down a few Premier League clubs. And it just means it's another day closer to the season starting. Obviously, earlier start this year. Cannot wait. And, we're inside a month till Premier League football is back.
It's about 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
We're pretty close. So getting through these previews pretty quick at the moment, just to make sure that we can get them in before the season all starts. So we've got teams 9 through to 5th from last season. So some really interesting talking points. And I think we sort of mentioned that the teams in the lower end, there's only so much that they can do in order to sort of push. But the teams that we're going to be talking about today, there's a lot on the line for a lot of these clubs. There's different challenges. There's some different expectations or some different, different opportunities for some of these teams this year in order to really kick on, which is going to be interesting to talk about today. And there's already been a lot of movement, and some of these clubs have started really strongly in the transfer market. Some others have been a bit slower. So we've got plenty to go through. Heaps of other sport as well kicking about. We haven't even had a chance to really talk about the tennis at all, did we? With Kyrgios making the final. Obviously not getting the result that we wanted, but I think
Played well.
He did play well, so we'll give him credit for that one, and we'll probably move straight on in today because I think this is going to be a very interesting episode. Before we do, make sure you get in the description of either the Spotify, Apple Podcast, or the YouTube video, and make sure you check out all the links in there. Links to both of our YouTubes and Twitch and Twitters and things like that are all in the description, regardless of where you're listening from. So, team that finished 9th last year was Brighton, and this is one of those teams that I think they've been building now for a couple seasons, and for them to be 9th was a really good finish for Brighton. They've put some really good pieces together. Probably the biggest news out of Brighton is Bissouma's departure. That's probably the big one for me. He was key to the way that they played last year, and I'm sure you'd probably agree with that he was a key piece to that team. So for me and Brighton's success early days, it's going to be very much dependent on how they keep the rest of the core together. We were talking about this today as well, weren't we? Another big key piece of theirs might be on the move to Man City in Cucurella. If they lose Cucurella, then they're going to be in big trouble.
They could be, but I think it all depends on one person they have brought in, and they have brought in a guy that I think if he gets going in the Prem is going to bang a lot of goals and end up at a top 4 club, and that's an Undav. And I think he's going to be quite good up top. Morpay gives him something, but not the clinical ability. Undav brings him that dogged ability, can bring the ball down into play as well if they go direct. More importantly, though, his goal scoring record in Belgium is ridiculous, and he comes into the Prem, and he's the sort of guy that you kind of like, you look at and you go, I know it's different from other leagues to the Prem, but when you come with that goal scoring record, you kind of think he's going to do the business if given the opportunity. And I think the way that Brighton have been building, that's kind of been the missing piece for them to jump into that top 7 sort of race. Yeah, they've always been on the peripheral. On the can we finish 9th is the best we probably could do last year. So now they need to push on again. And hopefully Undav's that person for them, because I think the football Graham Potter plays is brilliant. So it'll be interesting to see. For me, it's defensively how good they're going to be. Yeah. Because if they lose Cucurella, they could be in trouble. And I hope they're not. The Cucurella talks kind of have subsided a bit, but then it wouldn't surprise me if City just turn around and go, you know what, we want him now, so here's the money. And yeah, so it'll be interesting to see where Brighton sit in that. But I think they are.
They obviously need another midfielder as well. That's the other thing to replace Bissouma.
That too.
Whether they go experienced, that's probably the way I'd go, I think.
For them, I would.
To go with Mwepu. They've obviously got Trossard still, who I think had a better season last year. And he's been building for a few seasons now.
He played unreal last year.
I've just looked at Undav's stats as well here. So 2 seasons ago, he played in the second division of Belgium, and in 26 games scored 17 goals and got 4 assists. And then last season, 39 games, 26 goals and 12 assists. So 25, 25 years old, coming into a really good opportunity for him. At the moment, he's played Bundesliga level. He's played for Union. Oh no, that's Union SG. Sorry, not Union Berlin. Yeah. So he's played sort of at differing levels in Belgium, which has been good. He had a loan spell last year as well, so it's a bit weird. It says 2022 he had a loan spell, so I think he's just kicked on. I just want to see what happened here, but I can't really see, which is a bit annoying. But anyway, so he played 3 years at Union SG, and the goals kept coming and coming and coming, and got to the first division, and 12 and 8, 25 in 18. That's what they need. Morpay's going to do that work off the ball and create chances out of nothing, and I think they'll actually play really well off each other, and it might actually sort of get the Morpay that was at Brentford, who had Ollie Watkins with him and Banarama and other guys that were there to score goals. So we might actually see Morpay maybe not be the same level of output. He might only get just to double-digit goals, but I think the work he'll do off the ball and without the ball is going to create a lot of opportunities for Brighton. So I'm confident that they're a team that's going to be around about the same mark, just because there's a few moving parts that have obviously changed, and Lamptey's fitness also
another big one,
big question marks. I don't think he goes anywhere. Like, I don't think he's going to leave Brighton, but if they can get a full season of him fit, like we've seen him at his best, he's lightning, he's direct, he can whip a good ball in and create lots of problems for a lot of Premier League defences. So
I agree.
So there's plenty of options, pardon me. For Brighton, it's all dependent on, one, does Potter stay, which he probably does at this point of pre-season, and can they keep the rest of that core together? I think Mwepu started towards the back end of last season. He's someone that I really like as well, and he's going to have to step into that Basuma role to support that midfield, and that's probably the big question mark for me, is if they can get the midfield back solid and maybe tweaked a little bit, then I can't imagine them regressing, but whether they kick on heaps is left to be desired, I think.
I agree, and they need a midfielder. If I was them, I would chase Oxlade-Chamberlain. I think he would be really good in the middle of their park, bombing on up and down, but maybe that's not a club where the Ox wants to go to. I think on top of that, they're a club that you always look at and expect them to do air, yet they've gone underrated, I reckon, the last couple of years. Like, we still think of them like nearly staying up every year, but they definitely are better than that. Now. I think if they finish ninth again, they'll be happy. But I honestly can see a world, if they get going, they could maybe push the 7th mark.
Yeah.
And I know that might be a little bit whatever, but I just think because there's so many moving parts everywhere else in the league, that if they just get stabilised, right, they might be there again, that they jump again.
And that's not a bad thing as well. If they can be 7, 8, 9 next year or this season as well, it becomes more appealing, because then people that are looking at it can see the track history that, yes, they've sold players, yes, they've had different styles of play, and now they're really consolidated and they're not in relegation fights. Then it's going to attract players from those other European leagues to go, I can actually commit to Brighton because I'm not worrying about, are we going down? So I think for Brighton, it's, can they replicate what they've done the last 2 seasons? If they can, then well done on a third, crack at mid-table, and allow to strengthen. Even they're probably a team that needs to probably strengthen in January. Like, if the start of the season goes well for them, don't just rest on your laurels. Like, that's where you need to bring 1 or 2 guys in, even if it's on loan, just to strengthen, because that's what we know. Like, I notice is these teams with smaller squads tend to just fall away a little bit as the season kicks on. But for Brighton, I think we'll play it by ear with them. But I reckon, mid-table's probably the expectation, probably the reality, to be honest. And I'm sure any Brighton fan will probably take that straight away before the season starts. They'll bite your hand off.
100%. I'm just going to put it out there. Summer transfer signing on loan to Brighton in the middle of the park, Conor Gallagher, after not getting enough games at Chelsea.
In January?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a good share. He'd probably end up back at Palace if that happened. But, That's a great shout, though. Run the midfield.
I think Palace are set, though, in the middle of the park at the minute. So, because I think they know that Gallagher isn't coming back. That would make room for Gallagher, though, if that was the case.
Yeah, but they're planning without him.
Yeah, I think if Brighton needed a midfielder come January, I don't think Conor Gallagher's going to get anywhere near enough minutes at Chelsea. So, that could be a shout.
It's a great shout, to be honest. Wonder if he'd go. Obviously, the Palace-Brighton rivalry is pretty big, so I wonder if he'd see how loyal he was to Crystal Palace. But anyway, I think Brighton's probably the team here that we've got the least to talk about, to be honest. These next four, there's a lot to unpack. So if you're keen, make sure that you're listening along here. But we're going to kick straight off, and we're going to Leicester. And this
your popcorn ready.
This is one of the teams that I got completely wrong last year. They finished down in 8th. They were in the Europa League, and that's what a lot of people were forgetting. So, yes, they made the semi-final of the Conference League, but the reason they made it into the Conference League was because they didn't get out of a favourable group in the Europa League when things were going okay for them. So, this season for me is a real crossroads for Leicester. It can go one or two ways. They can either get back to competing for Champions League football because they had 2 years in a row of finishing 5th. And they really did throw it away those 2 years, or Brendan's first 2 years. They needed the bit of quality. They thought they got that bit of quality, and they fell short. And I think this year, for me, it's going to be interesting to see, number one, are they going to be defensively with Fofana back? He obviously missed all of last season, and I think that hurt them a lot, and Vestergaard wasn't the player. Like, you can't expect Vestergaard to come in and be a Fofana. Like, that was a bit unfair on him, and they didn't really replace that centre-back depth, and they were always struggling. They were using Amadi for some time. I remember we had him in fantasy for quite a bit.
Fantasy, just to pick up points.
Yeah, 4 million to get a clean sheet, you know?
Yep.
I think there's areas of this Leicester squad, though, that are really strong. I feel like their fullback depth is really, really good, with, like, Castagna, Pereira, and then they've got James Justin and Luke Thomas. So they've got 4 really good fullbacks. I think they need to start using them a bit more aggressively. Obviously, in the middle of the park, I think that's where they struggle the most, is how do they get the best out of Ndidi, Maddison. I mean, Barnes plays more on the wing, but I think like they're going between a 3 and a 2 a lot. So there's games where Maddison plays as an 8, like a Liverpool-style 8, and then there's games where he plays in the 10, and there's just a lot of movement from Brendan. I think he needs to just pick how they want to play, because I've seen him play 3-5-2, I've seen him play 4-3-3, I've seen him play 4-2-3-1, and I've seen him play 4-4-2.
Yeah.
So there's just so much variation that I think that's actually causing a lot of issues. They're trying to
stems off?
I think they're trying to shoehorn the goals as well. That's the problem, because they can't rely on Vardy, so they're trying to use Daka, and then they're trying to use Vardy and Daka and Iheanacho.
The problem is they have too many strikers.
Yep.
They went and bought Daka, they have Iheanacho, then they were going to phase Vardy out, then they realised they need Vardy because Vardy's Vardy. You know, just give him a can of Red Bull, he's going to be right. And I think that's what was Brendan's downfall. Yeah, defensively, I know the system fell away. Look at Liverpool when we had no centre-backs. Look at City when they had no centre-backs. You know,
it happens.
Even to the best teams, right? It happens. So I understand that, but their downfall started at the start of last season, signing too many strikers and being too top-heavy.
Yep.
And everyone came out and said, well, they're not going to play 4-2-3-1, which they've been playing for years, because they've got to play 4-4-2, because they've got to have 2 up top. And in the end, it killed Maddison being in that free role where you can pick up and run a game in the 10, and it killed their whole midfield, trio there. So, even Yuri Tielemans, he needs to be freed up.
Yeah, that's if he's going to stay.
Pardon?
That's if he stays.
That's if he stays. And that's a big question mark at the minute because he's a quality player.
They're a very 4-2-3-1 team. Sorry to cut you off. That's when Leicester play their best.
They should be.
When Leicester play their best football, it's 4-2-3-1. Ndidi, Tielemans pivot, Maddison in front, Barnes, Albrighton, and whoever's the informed striker. And it means that someone's going to get pissed off.
Yeah,
if
it means
Vardy,
Daka and Iheanacho are going to sit there.
Could you use Iheanacho on the right as an Albrighton different type of winger? Because Albrighton gives you the run on the right, but if you need a goal, can you use Iheanacho off the right?
Of course you can.
You could probably shoehorn Daka out there too, because if you're playing him on the same side as Castagna or Pereira, they're very defensively solid fullbacks. It's not like Justin on the left who wants to get forward and Barnes sort of sits in a bit more. That right winger, you could get away with them being a bit more of a attacking-minded player, so you could probably get away with them on the right, although it's not ideal.
I agree. And I feel like their detriment is probably the fact they just didn't stick with the 4-2-3-1 throughout. Because when they played 4-2-3-1 towards the end of the season...
And Madison got going.
Yeah, and that's why I wish he was cheaper on fantasy, because I would go for him. But he's not. He went up in price, which I can't fathom.
Did he?
Wow. Yeah, he did. He went up to 8 mil. Which
is 7.5 would be max I'd pay for him.
Yeah, see, I would...
7?
Yeah. 7. If he was 7, I would get him every day. But it's one of those ones where for Brendan, he's in dangerous territory. If this does not start well, he's gone. And I think that has to be made clear. I know they're so quite a nice club and a well-run club, and they wouldn't go out their way to sack managers, off the cuff, say Watford-esque or whatever. But I think he would know, and I think Leicester know.
He had a lot of chances.
Knows that if he does not get going and not like finishing top 5 early on, they've got to look elsewhere. And either look elsewhere in terms of getting a manager who can play 2 up top and is known for playing 2 up top, so they could fit in Iheanacho, Daka and Vardy and have one of them off the bench, or you go to get a manager that's going to freshen up playing 4-2-3-1 and just turn around and go, well, you weren't my signing, I'm going to sell you to Daka or to Iheanacho, or, God forbid they shipped off Vardy.
I couldn't see that.
Crazy move. I couldn't see that happening. The guy's elite still.
Yeah.
So I think their detriment, it comes from the start of last season signing too many strikers without having a real plan of what they're going to do. It's kind of like playing Football Manager and you see enough wonder kids, you keep buying them and go, oh, shivers, where I'm going to play all these wonder kids. I
think it was the fact that they knew they could get Daka and that he was well wanted.
That was it. Yeah. That was it.
And they just wanted to snap him.
Yeah, they didn't want to miss out. And in the end, it did them detriment where they could have signed another midfielder or, God forbid, another centre-back after losing 2.
Yeah. And they haven't really gone and replaced either. Like they're just banking on Fofana being Fofana, and after an ACL, it's like Verge came back and was Verge, but not everyone recovers the same way, and that's what my worry would be for Leicester is defensively. Like they need another rock solid centre back, and I think they're just lacking it at the moment. Like it's.
I don't think Westergaard is going to play though.
No, he won't play.
Fofana.
Yeah, it's still not good though. If you're going to be Champions League.
Sonuech is there too.
He's been dreadful though, Soyuncu.
Yeah, so the last year he was.
Like they need to
he was unreal.
They need to get one out and one in. That's the thing though. Like they got to get rid of one of Soyuncu, Evans. They're going to get rid of Vestergaard, or Vestergaard. Like one of those 3 need to go. Probably Evans, but maybe not. Probably Soyuncu actually. The way that he's after. Actually, when the Soyuncu's downfall has been since the Euros when Turkey bundled it at Euro 2020 when it was in 2021. He has just capitulated since that tournament. Yeah. So I reckon there's a bit of knock of confidence from the Euros with Turkey.
I think so too.
And maybe a move could be on for Soyuncu, and that's maybe the way that they fund a centre-back coming in to play with Fofana. And I'd be looking at Saliba. I know that he wants to go to Marseille, but if you could pair Fofana and Saliba together, that'd be mental.
That would be good. That would be unreal.
Yeah.
I just don't know who else they can go for after Saliba. Like, who's in the league that you would take?
Probably take someone on loan from a big boy, but
could.
There's not that many guys looking to leave. That's the other thing too. Like no one
not
from
at the back.
Nah. Like all of our centre backs are sort of locked in wherever they are now, aren't they? Really, like a Nat Phillips or a Williams, potentially.
Yeah, that's true. Just trying to think who they could maybe take from City. No one. Nothing. AK is going to go to.
He's going to Chelsea.
Yeah.
What about Malang Sarr from Chelsea?
Yeah, could go the other way. Could go to Leicester. That's not a bad shout. It just depends. Maybe they'll look abroad. Maybe they'll look at someone that's a bit more experienced, that's been around a bit. Maybe someone that's a bit older that's got to calm it down back there. I don't know. For me, Brendan has just got to make a decision of what am I playing, what system do I want to play, who am I pissing off, and that's what we're playing, and done.
Yeah.
And off we go. And if he plays 2 up top, he's better off maybe playing a diamond and just saying, you know what, my best players play centrally. Yeah, we lose Harvey Barnes, but so be it, we lose Harvey Barnes.
He can come on either up front or in the 10 as an impact or... Yeah.
Here's the thing. They've always got a lot of options at Leicester, which is a good thing. Just you need to have a manager that's going to stay in there and go, that's the way. And usually Brendan knows his way. You know it's a 4-2-3-1. You know it's possession-based.
Or 4-3-3 even.
Yeah, it's one of those two. 4-2-3-1 turns into 4-3 like that. You just drop a 10 into a 6.
I don't see them doing that, though.
I don't see him...
They want the wingers. If they wanted to use Daka and Iheanacho, then you could see it more that Liverpool style, like Vardy pushing
everyone coming in, yeah.
And then Barnes and then one of Iheanacho or Daka off the right. Or Barnes can play off the right too. What was that?
Well, Brighton's good enough. He's very technically gifted.
Yeah, he's good enough, but
he's someone that doesn't get enough credit for how good he actually is.
I know, but
Brighton.
He won the title with them. That's 6 years ago at this point.
Thing is, every manager drops him at the start, and then by the end of their career, by the end of their campaign, he's playing because he's so good. So he's one of those guys that I have a lot of respect for, that he stays in that team.
Yeah,
for me,
I know,
but Rodgers' issue is pick a system and get a centre back.
And get your starting 11.
And you get a centre back, Brendan's going to be good, and the Leicester side's going to be good. If not, Paul, it's going to be,
Looking at this list of teams that we're going through today,
yeah,
Leicester's the team I've got the biggest question marks over.
I would agree.
They could either finish 4th or they could finish 14th.
And I think they're going to finish in around 10th or 11th with Rodgers sacked, but...
Yeah, there have to be some big changes, culturally.
They need to sack Rodgers earlier than
if they do it.
If it goes right. If it goes pear-shaped, you get who you need to get in. That's it. What's Claudio Ranieri doing?
I'd be trying to headhunt Ange.
Yeah.
I know it sounds weird, following Rodgers.
Bit early for it, but I would agree. I think Ange needs another year in Scottish football.
Yeah, where he's the man at Celtic, but that's a job I'd love him to take. That's that next step, solid Premier League club.
Yeah.
Can he then get them Champions League football that way? That would be mental, but I don't think it's this season. But you never know. Stranger things, man. The pull of the Premier League. It happened for Gerrard. No one thought he would have left Rangers for Villa, but the pull of the Premier League's big, and the pull of a team like Leicester when you get backed and the fans are good, and the list is in an interesting spot that he could work with. Who knows?
Yeah.
I'd like Brendan to be able to turn it around because I actually like Brendan, but
I do too.
At the moment it doesn't look like that's going to be the case.
I don't know. He's a good enough coach too. That's the thing.
Yeah, 100% he is.
Yeah.
But they're not going to take another season out of the Champions League, I don't think. And if he bottles it for a 4th year in a row, then they're probably going to say, look, we've stuck by you, but time to part ways. And then for him finding another job, that's going to be tough too, I think.
At Arsenal, they're not happy with Arteta. That's what happens.
We'll get to Arsenal a bit later, but we'll move from Leicester down to London. Any final thoughts quickly on Leicester?
I'm happy to move to London, mate, because I think that Leicester talk could go all night.
Beauty. So we're moving over to the London Stadium that was donated to this next club a while ago. But West Ham, another one of those teams that faded at the end of last season. They could have done us a real big favour, second to last game of the season, in knocking off City, but they crumbled and only got a draw. But we'll take it. But this is another team similar to Leicester where they're in a bit of a different spot. They kind of have overachieved, I'd say, the last 2 years. I don't know if you'd agree with that.
Yeah.
But they've really consolidated now towards the top of the table. But they've had 2 years where they've fell away due to their squad being probably a bit too thin. I think them, chasing the Europa League, which we said on the podcast was the right thing to do.
Yep.
Because for them, the chance to be in the Champions League was going to come through winning the Europa League over finishing 4th. 100%. That ultimately has now cost them a spot in the Europa League, funny enough, and they're going to be playing the Conference League this year instead.
Which I
because
think suits him in the league.
it probably does, because you'd think that their rotationary squad should get the job done early days of the Conference League. But you never know, it's European football. But I think we've made it very clear that they're a team very opposite to Leicester, that they're lacking depth up front. Where Leicester have too much depth up front, I think West Ham's main issue is they don't have the depth up front. So they were challenged last year defensively. They lost Ogbonna. They lost Zuma for big periods of the season. And they managed to cover with, like, I think Diop played is it Diop? I can't remember now. But they had, Diop like, played. They had so many different centre-back pairings. And they managed to keep it relatively together. Their midfield was not really overly challenged. Like, I felt like Souček and Rice played a lot of minutes last year. But Rice, coming off a Euros, a big season, and a World Cup this year, is going to need some support in those deeper areas.
Yep.
But between their front four, so you're looking at Lanzini, Fornals, Benrahma, Antonio Bowen.
Yep.
That's it. 5 guys, really, that carried that load in a front four. And that's really not going to happen again.
Really, Antonio carried it for 12 matches start of the season last year and then did nothing.
Yeah.
Bowen was on all season. Fornals towards the end of the season came good, but
Lanzini was out early days and Benrahma was in and out.
Benrahma's start of the year last year was the best fantasy Premier League asset that there was. But yeah, it's a weird one for West Ham because I think they would have been happy with last year.
Oh, 100%.
And can they push on if they make the right signings? They sound like they're signing Scamacca there from
from Sassuolo.
Yeah, and that means they can move Antonio out wide, which helps them because I don't think Antonio is much of a striker.
Nah, he's been doing a job.
He just does a job he feels in. They needed number 9 desperately. So if that's how it goes and they get Scamacca, they could have a really good year. For me, it's again, how stable are they at the back? And hopefully they are.
Yeah.
Declan Rice is staying, but he needs support in the middle. So for me, I actually feel like they need to sign another 6 just to give some support and some cover.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be okay next year. And they're going to be dangerous, especially with Bowen. Bowen doesn't look like he's going anywhere.
He's so good.
And he is going to be mental again next year. We know that. We know that if Scamacca joins, he knows how to find the back end net. Antonio's going to be good. Benrahma, I think, is overrated because everyone remembers what he did at the start of the year last year. Well, he knows he could do a thing. I think the one player that they definitely need to sign, and hopefully they do get him, is Jesse Lingard.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Lingard in there too. They're going to be good next year and push for 5, 4th, etc.
Yeah.
We'll need a 6 and Lingard with Scamacca joining.
That's a good shout.
All 3.
Yeah. I think they definitely need the striker. I'm just trying to find our football chat in Discord and it looks like someone's deleted it. So that's a bit annoying.
JS had him, he's joining, but he hasn't been confirmed, but it looks very much on. Fabrizio hasn't tweeted it yet. If Fabrizio tweeted it, then you know it's done.
Who's that for?
Scamacca.
Yeah, I've seen that. He had a centre-back as well, but I can't get into the channel, which is weird. Oh, football, there it is. Wait a minute, found it.
I don't know who the centre-back is, though. Apparently, Brozia's going to go there on loan if they get Scamacca as well to provide another option.
I don't mind that.
I think that's a dead loan, though, of how many front players they have.
It's just a depth.
Yeah.
Depth play, and he'll back himself to try and be the second option.
It's all right. Brozia's no good anyway. You don't want him.
I don't mind him. He needs time. He's only young. But
I do forget that.
West Ham is one of those teams where, I think you're right. They need probably an 8, to be fair. Because Souček is not as young as we think as well. Soufal probably needs some help at right back. I think that Ben Johnson dude, he's not too bad actually. Creswell at left back probably could deal with some competition. Although he's been really good. Again, you're hedging your bets on a 31, 32-year-old fullback in a system that he's expected to get up and down. You probably just want someone there just in case.
Yeah.
But that's sort of where it's just been depth for West Ham, hasn't it? Like their starting 11 when they're on the park, like they've got a real clear understanding of how they play, but it's just that next line of guys other than at centre back is their issue. So obviously another year of three domestic competitions and a European campaign, really they need that extra bit of quality if it's not going to come through their kids.
Yeah, which it might. And West Ham do have a habit of producing a few, so.
And they'll replace Mark Noble.
I think out of the teams we're going to talk about, they're the least with a question mark about what they're going to bring next year.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Because I think they're the most stable because they know that all their big boys are staying.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, and they can build on that. And I think they will build on that. And I do think they're going to end up with Skamaka. And I do think they're going to end up with Jesse Lingard. And then it's just up to what they do with that third spot, which I think needs to be a 6/8 to back up Declan Rice.
Yep.
At the end of the day, if a club turned around to me right now and said he's 80 mil for Declan Rice, I'm selling him to bring in 2.
Yeah. And 2 guys will probably walk into your starting 11.
What's Calvin Phillips up to? You can get him.
Well, he's gone to Man City.
Is it done though?
Yeah. Got done last week.
Is it?
Yeah. All done, mate.
What?
That happened very quickly. He's 100% done. It happened like straight after the Darwin deal.
Calvin Phillips already there. No,
he's already there.
No.
Yeah. And I'm salty because that frustrated me a lot, that deal, because there's no risk for City in that deal. I'm 99% sure it's done. I'm pretty sure it's done. All right.
Yeah, it is done because he is there as a 5 mil player on fantasy.
There you go. Told you it's done.
That is tempting. Not the type of guy I would get on.
Nah, he'll just sit there, do the Rodri roll. Yeah. All right. Any final comments on West Ham before we get into the big dogs?
They'll finish top 6.
Oh, God. All right. Here we go. Now we've got 6 and 5. And we'll do it in that order. The team that won the Bangkok International Trophy.
Yep.
Beating Liverpool 4-0 when we used 32 players in a game. But I must say, that hit out from Ten Hag was very much people playing for spots. And I actually really liked that.
And then you watched them against Melbourne Victory and they conceded inside a couple of minutes.
I saw the goal they conceded, but I didn't see the game.
Apparently they played well after that. I didn't watch it.
The game I watched, which was against Liverpool, I thought they looked pretty good. Although Liverpool were not at all interested in that game whatsoever. We were just there to get half an hour into every player.
We played kids I've never heard of.
Yes, but we can only judge United on what was in front of them.
Put it this way. I thought they were that good. I have had Rashford in a couple of my fantasy Premier League drafts.
Yeah. And Sancho was probably similar for me as well. And I've been very critical of Sancho on this podcast in particular. But, pre-season's pre-season. Yeah, I never look into pre-season.
Same here.
But it was promising. If you're a United supporter, my concerns are still in the middle of the park for United. I think if they can get the defence right, it's good enough. They're probably lacking a right back still. I think Wan-Bissaka, it's time to go. He needs to go back to a club around the Palace level, I think, and just let him just run free down a right wing. I just don't think it's really worked for him at United, and I think now's the time. If you're with the World Cup around the corner, he probably needs to play football. Dalot's probably got him at the moment for that starting role, but I still don't think he's really good enough either.
We haven't seen enough from him. I think the games he's played has actually been okay.
Yeah, but I don't think for a club of Man United's size, he should be the starting right back. But that's another issue. Luke Shaw, if he's at full fitness, is more than serviceable. And then obviously Varane and Maguire need to be the pairing at the moment, unless something happens. But they need to find a way to get Maguire's confidence back. They've given him the captaincy, which I think is massive. I think Ten Hag could have come in and taken that from him. And the fact that he hasn't is probably a promising sign that he's going to back him, at least to start with. But I don't think Lindelof puts enough pressure on regardless to take that spot. So they probably need a centre-back to just compete. Because Eric Bailly is the same. I think he's past it. The hype of him sort of died off. So they're looking at really, I think, a centre mid and a centre back, like a real 6. Because I think Fred actually looks okay when he plays as an 8. I don't know what you think of Fred.
I do too. I was going to say Eric Bailly is someone that could end up at Leicester.
Yeah, that's a good shout actually.
I just thought of that as soon as you said his name. I was like, far out, he could end up at Leicester.
Yeah,
Man
and that's
United
probably a
wanna-
win-win, to be honest.
If Man United want to fund a centre back, tell Bailly to buy someone else, and Leicester
Yeah.
get a proven Premier League quantity at the back alongside Fofana.
Yeah, I don't mind that. And he can
That
play
is the
regularly.
one. I
Yeah.
like that. That's good.
Damo takes, look at that.
Look
Just
at that.
making
I
up
was like-
making up transfers as we go.
I heard that on top of my head. I was like, hello.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I might have to clip that up for TikTok. So, I just think the big area. So, Donny van de Beek isn't a 6. So, I think if him and Fred are playing as the 2 8s, it's not bad. It's not too bad.
Scott McTominay's not a 6.
I don't mind him though, but yeah, he's not. He's better when he plays box to box.
What happens when they sign De Jong?
If they sign De Jong, that's the problem.
Well,
and again, he's
until-
not a 6. He probably plays. Oh god, he probably plays more as a 6, but he's not a. He's not a box to box. He's more that the FM terms. I know we use him a lot. That deep playmaker that can just be there, but he's not a
I don't
traditional.
mind that.
He's not a traditional.
Fabinho 6 that wins the ball.
Yeah, he's just the facilitator from deep, but doesn't need like the way we use Thiago when we play as a 2.
Yeah.
He just pings balls around and whatever, but he's not going to make crunching tackles. That's my take on De Jong. I haven't watched a lot of him. Granted, next year we've got La Liga on Optus. I'll probably watch more, but I haven't had the chance to really watch him too much. So maybe he is that type of 6. I know him as more of that creative player than a stopgap big. I see him like a Basuma with a better range of passing.
Yeah, I hear you.
So
I would agree.
I mean, maybe that's
the thing I will say is they've got those 3. So they've got Scott McTominay, they've got Fred, they've got Donny. You've then got to fit Bruno into the middle of that park.
Bruno's the one that makes it awkward.
Yeah.
For me. Because 4-3-3 for them would be the best.
And they've signed Christian Eriksen on a free.
Or do you turn Bruno into an 8 and do what we said last year?
Yeah, but where do you play Christian Eriksen? Because he's too good to bench.
Oh, I don't think Eriksen plays every game though.
True.
They pick and choose what he plays.
majority.
I think they'll pick. I think they should actually play 4-3-3 with one of Eriksen and Bruno in the team at all times, and they rotate. I think that's the way to go because they're playing. They got Europa League as well.
I honestly think that you could play one of Bruno or Eriksen out wide as this free roaming, pick your spot and pick your gap sort of wide playmaker.
The way they should have used Pogba.
Yes.
When he had that game against Leeds, he got 4 assists.
Yeah, just drift into where you want to see space and play. Give him the creative freedom.
So do you play him on the left of a 3 though, and then allow that Rashford? Who else could play out there? Martial if he stays.
Yeah.
To play left, but be more with the striker.
Yeah.
But again, it depends who's going to be up. Who's going to be up front? Is it Ronaldo?
Well, for me, this is the question that, and this is going to sound ludicrous, Paul, so don't laugh my head off when I say this. If United sell Ronaldo, they finish top 4. If United keep Ronaldo, they finish 5th or 6th.
I agree.
Because Ronaldo may score them 19, 20 goals, but kill the rest of their way they will play throughout the whole year.
Yeah, and we saw that last year.
Ten Hag against us came out and pressed the shit out of us.
With energy.
Yes, no one had anything at the back. I think the moment you take Ronaldo out and you get Rashford up top with another runner on the right, with one of the Bruno Eriksen guys on the left, and they start buzzing.
Well, you got Sancho on the right then.
Yeah, Sancho on the right with Rashford up top and Bruno on the left. They all of a sudden can press and harry and be dogged and get in faces and win the ball back.
Oh, I've got a thing for you.
And then we can play De Jong as a deeper line playmaker if you're Man United, because then you're already high up the pitch. Bang, off you go.
I've got the shape for you.
4-3-3 with a 4. It's either 4-3-3 with a 4-2-3-1. One of the two.
It's a 4-3-3.
They could play a 4-2-2-2, but
I didn't like it when they did that.
I don't like it either.
All right.
They're too open in the middle of the park.
They need a 6.
Yeah.
Okay. But the team that I've got here in front of me has it as McTominay, but I don't. Worst case scenario, he can do it.
He can.
It can be McTominay or De Jong.
It's good.
Okay, so let's put De Jong in there.
I think they're going to get De Jong by the end of it.
This is the 6 players that I would want to see in the similar roles. Doesn't mean it's the starting 11. So it's McTominay or De Jong sitting.
Yep.
Bruno or Ericsson on the left of the three in midfield because Sancho plays on the left of the three, like up there with Rashford together.
Yeah.
So there's space there for that creative player to drift into with Luke Shaw bombing. So you've got an overload on the left. On the right, it's Elanga at the moment because I think he's actually proven himself to be able to play at the level with Rashford through the middle, and you've got Martial as a question mark. Whether he stays or goes, that can fund into someone else.
I don't think Elanga starts from minute 1, but Elanga will be in that team by the end of the year.
Yeah. And then you got and then the other centre midfield is either Donny or Fred in the 8 on the right.
Yeah. Well, I think it's Donny and Fred together with then a 6, and then you're playing one of Bruno or Ericsson
on the left.
in one game. Yeah.
I don't think Ericsson can play out wide though.
I don't think so either.
Otherwise, Shaw needs to just give everything.
I'll tell you what you could do is play one of them in a false 9. Just tell him, mate, every time you get the ball, you drop in between the spaces and pick it up, and we play off you.
And then Rashford moves over to the right, Rashford to the left, Sancho to the right.
And just tell them every time one of them they start from their centre backs and drop in, you just make that beeline and run inside. And all it is that Bruno gets it, either plays off a shoulder, lays it back.
It's like that Bobby roll.
Yeah, and then it's that ball in between centre back and full back with the springer coming in.
And you got Rashford and Sancho attacking the space in between. Oh my god, that sounds
lethal. And then if you don't get in behind, they're already that high up the park. Like then you can knock it around with your creativity that you've got with Shaw bombing on with Dalot, and there you are. You got numbers.
Imagine you go Bruno up front in that.
I'm not a Man United fan, but fuck, it would be good.
So imagine it's Bruno in the 9 as a false 9.
Yep.
Then you've got Rashford off the left, Sancho off the right.
Yep.
Ericsson, Fred, De Jong.
Yep.
I know. And that's hard workers as well.
I'm not a Man United fan, but far out I'm craving for a good year for Man United just to know that we were that good and we had a year where United were actually decent. Yeah. We were better than them because I just want to be able to,
That has potential.
I like going to Old Trafford and spanking them every time.
Yeah, it's been a nice change of pace.
I need a season where it's 2 frantic games.
And they're competitive.
At Old Trafford and Anfield, and they're competitive. I need it.
Yeah. So I don't think they need much. It's the actual style. I don't either. It's the style. They need a 6, big time, and they need to figure out what's happening up front. And then they need a centre back. I think they need Varane with someone.
Slate me for all you want. They need to get rid of Ronaldo because it's not all about him. The moment they make it about the team, then it's fine. Because Ronaldo's not going to give him the press.
And that was the problem. So we'd watch games together and they just get passed out because Ronaldo doesn't have it in him. And I don't blame him. That's not what he came to do. He come to finish goals. But you're ultimately carrying someone. You can't do that in the Premier League.
At the end of the day, you still realise they still have Cavani sitting there, and the guy.
No, he's gone. He's gone to Barca. I think he's on a free.
Is that done?
His contract's expired. They didn't renew it.
Okay, well then
he's a free agent. I would have kept him, but he didn't want to stay. And I don't blame him because they've pissed him about for 2 years. Poor bloke. I'd take him. I don't want to bet. Imagine him playing for Liverpool. Imagine Trent and Robbo picking him out and him doing these. Boom, flying at the
He's alright.
flying at the ball. For anyone that's listening, you'd actually have to come over to YouTube and get to 43 minutes because I just imitated a diving header towards my GoPro.
Yeah, he's currently without a club at the minute. It looks like Barca might slap him up.
Yeah, well, I don't know because Lewandowski actually looks like he might get done now. Anyway, that's a whole nother issue. So, United, my question marks are for them. Obviously, it's a 6, but I think they get that done.
Yep.
Centre back, right back.
I think at the right-hand side, the lot's good enough for them, and then Wan-Bissaka is the backup. For them, they need to chase the centre-back.
Yeah, centre-back's priority.
Centre-back in a 6th priority for them.
Yeah, I think
the other thing I would have done is I would have kept Henderson again and competitive with De Gea, but I guess this is
he wants to play in a World Cup year, though. I don't blame him.
Yeah, which I don't blame him either. Last year was the year that they could have maybe said to De Gea or whatever, but I still think De Gea's quality.
He had a good year.
Anyway, so yeah, I still think De Gea's quality. So
yeah, so United's one of those ones where it's going to be interesting to see how well they take the Europa League on this year because it's something that they have actually been really competitive with in the past when they have been in it and they've actually gone deep and they did win it a few years ago. There's going to be a lot of games and a lot of these guys here that we're talking about are going to have big seasons.
That's why
Pardon
they
me.
signed Ericsson, though.
Yeah, but again, does he play at the World? Oh, did Denmark? Yeah, they qualify. They're in our group. Does he go? That's the next question. He probably does go to the World Cup.
His heart's okay, then yes.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, we're looking at, so McTominay didn't make it. De Jong, if he signs, will go. Bruno goes. Ericsson goes. Donny goes. Fred probably doesn't go. Maybe he goes and doesn't play. Alanga goes. I think Sweden made it.
Yeah.
Rashford goes. Sancho goes. So, like, Shaw goes. Maguire goes. So, you're talking, all that. Like,
De Gea goes.
De Gea goes. Varane goes. Dalot goes. I thought Portugal didn't qualify, but they must have at the last minute. So, you're talking a lot of their guys are all going to the World Cup. So they're going to have big seasons. And again, I don't think their depth is good enough for Man United standards either.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a challenge.
You know what they need to do is just have a look at some of their kids and bring them through.
Yeah.
Get them playing for the sleeve.
And that's probably what they're missing as well. They don't have a lot of guys. Like Rashford. Rashford's the only guy that's come through their academy at the moment.
Scott McTominay.
Well, did he come through the academy? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Fair enough. I don't know if he did or not, but okay.
Look, I'm not a Man United expert, but surely there's some kids that are sitting there that you're going, come on.
There's meant to be Charlie McNeil, I think his name is a midfielder.
Yeah. I'm picking him up on
FM.
Football Manager a bit. Yep.
Yeah, he's meant to be kind of ready. Oh, Langa's come through as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
So they got a couple, but anyway. All right. Man United, again, what are your thoughts this season? Where are they going to end up?
It's anywhere between 4th to 6th. I think they'll be up there.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it'll be a very good first year from Ten Hag. I think there's one thing, if there's a United fan listening, don't get on his back. This is just to give him 2 years to build what he needs to build. This is your chance to get out of the slop. Let him build what he needs to build. I
would have to agree with you on that one, as I just quickly try to write a note down here. They're fighting for that 4th spot, and the team that they're going to be fighting for that 4th spot with, Arsenal. I don't know. I really don't know. And the issue with Arsenal is, the big question is what Arsenal turns up on a regular basis. Because if it's the good Arsenal, then they'll be up there. And if it's the Arsenal that's got Gabby Jesus fit and firing and scoring goals like he has in pre-season, then they may have eradicated their issue. Now, again, another year of Europa League football. They've already gone and brought in Vieira, who's a decent player from Porto. They've brought in Jesus.
Yep.
And there's one more that they're looking at that I'm stuck on, and I've just gone blank. But this is the first time in a very long time that I've seen Arsenal get a lot of business done early doors. So that's been positive. Oh, they're getting that Martinez bloke from Ajax, I think.
Yeah.
Centre back, left back, midfielder. Yeah, Lissandro Martinez. For me, a lot of it rests on what happens with Kieran Tierney, I think, because he's a barometer for that team. Whether he plays left back, whether he plays centre back this year, I don't really know.
He needs to play left back.
With Martinez coming in, though, it creates a big conversation because Martinez can play left back, can play centre back, can play midfield. I think predominantly wants to play left back, so Tierney hasn't got the track record to say that he's going to stay fit. Whether they play a 3 with Tierney as a left back and Tomiyasu playing as a bombing on fullback, I don't know.
I think they need to play a 4. They need to play a 4-2-3-1, how they played towards most part of the second half of the season.
Yeah, so I just think their midfield's the issue. Again.
I again agree. Because I look at that midfield all the time and I go, it's just not enough.
Missing. Yeah, it's missing things.
Fabio Vieira is a very good pickup, and yes, he'll probably play in the 10 and be good. Odegaard's good depth, and Odegaard can fill a role. For me, it's just who is winning the ball back.
No one.
Again.
And
I'm just like, is he good enough?
Nah, he's a squad player, but he's not starting.
No, he shouldn't be.
And the issue is, they're going to go into this season at this rate with it being Xhaka and Partey. And Partey doesn't have the fitness track record either. So
No, he doesn't. And then Xhaka is a good leader.
he needs to
But you
move
don't want
though.
him.
He's been there too long.
Yeah, you don't want him being the number one name on the team sheet, do you?
Nah, they
'Cause
need a 6.
I look at them going forward. I'm just like, hello.
Yeah, between Saka, Martinelli, Smith Rowe, Odegaard, Jesus.
Yeah,
Take your pick. Pepe goes surely. There's no way he stays
Pepe should be funding a move for a
for a midfielder.
Six. Yeah.
And then whether Saliba actually stays, I think looks like he's going to Marseille on loan again.
Looks like it. I would be, I don't know what's going on there. But
He wants to play Champions League. I don't blame him.
We've said it many times. He should have been an Arsenal squad the last 2 years.
I don't think he'll ever play a game in the Premier League for Arsenal. I think he'll end up staying at Marseille.
Yeah,
at this rate. Yeah. So they got to stop banking on him, to be honest. Because a lot of Arsenal fans and a lot of talk is if we get Saliba in the team, when Saliba comes back, stop. Like, he's been there for 3 years. He's played one game, and it was in the Premier League. Start planning without him. If you've got him, brilliant. They'll make a profit on him, regardless. They only paid 17 million for him. But I don't see a world where he plays for Arsenal because of
Which is sad.
Stuff that he's gone through with that club. Between Gabriel, Ben White, Martinez, I guess, if they get him.
Tommy Ashley can play through the middle if needs, or right back.
If they're playing a 4, he'll play on the right. If they're playing a 3, he can play either. Again, defensively, am I missing anyone there? I don't think I am. I don't think that's really good enough if you're going to push for Champions League. I think Ramsdale's a really good number 1 that they've got. Then it looks like he's out the door as well. They've brought in this dude from
Fulham.
Oh, that's a good shout. They've brought in a guy from America last season to come and be the 2. Who knows? Whatever. How often do you use your number 2? So I don't know. Arsenal's one of those teams where if it clicks, and when they play their best, like their ceiling and their floor is so far apart, that's my worry.
That's always my worry with Arsenal, is that they're so hit and miss.
Yeah.
I think my question is, for you, is you playing Jesus on the right? You're playing Jesus
through the middle. They've given him the 9. He's gone through the middle.
So Nketiah's not playing then, after signing a 5-year deal and wearing the number 14 Thierry Henry.
He'll be in the squad, but he doesn't start.
Such a bad move for him to sign a new deal then.
Well, he's getting 100 grand a week. And he probably doesn't want to leave. Like, he's from London. So
apparently it was like, you play me or I'm not signing a new deal. And then they played him.
And then they've gone and signed Jesus.
Yeah. And they signed him, and then as soon as they signed him,
he'll play enough minutes. Like, there's enough football going around that he'll play. But the issue is he's not going to be the number 1 striker unless he does something stupid and starts scoring for fun off the bench in big games, or starts taking his chances in the Europa League and something happens to Jesus. But you're not spending 50 million on a striker and then playing a guy that's played 7 good games for the back end of the season.
Yeah, that's fair. My question is then, are you playing Martinelli on the left as a starting left winger?
No, I'm playing Smith Rowe there.
And then you're playing Saka on the right.
Yeah, with Odegaard and Jesus. And that's a good 4.
Yeah, that's fair. I like that.
That's a really good 4. But again, like, the thing with Arsenal is there's plenty of opportunities for games. Jesus can play either side. He can play left or right. But again, he wouldn't have signed for them if he wasn't going to play through the middle. Yeah. And everything I've seen of him in pre-season has been through the middle. So, and they're not giving him the number 9 shirt to go play on the wing. So, there's just lots of things that are telling me that he's the guy, and he's hit the ground running in pre-season. So
yeah, he has looked good in pre-season. He's borderline good enough to make me think about getting him in my fantasy team.
Yeah, he's just, what is he, 8.5 though? He's a bit expensive for me.
8, I think.
Yeah, nah. I'm playing 1 striker.
Same here. I'm playing 1 striker.
So
Haaland or Kane, Paul? Was it Haaland or Kane?
Haaland.
Same here. A lot of people going for Kane though.
Yeah. Anyway. So, Arsenal, big issue. They need a 6. They really do need a 6. And I don't know who it's going to be, to be honest. It's just hard. There's not really anyone there.
They need to go abroad. They need to go abroad and get like a Thiago Mendes or something like that from France.
Tielemans is very heavily linked. But
yeah, but he's an 8.
I know, but it's whether Party then does a job as the 6 or
then what? Party and Xhaka swap in and out
potentially, and they got Sambi Lokonga that needs to develop as well.
I could get away with it, but is it good enough to finish in the 4?
The issue is the situation they're at. I mean, they got the Europa League there, obviously, but they just don't have the pull. Like, they don't have the pull that Spurs do with Conte and Champions League. And, you know, like Basuma had his choice and went Spurs. You know what I mean? Like, just...
I would have too.
Well, 100%. But, you know, Arsenal had been in for Basuma for 18 months and couldn't get the deal done. So that's my worry, is that they're going to miss out. So they're going to have to go a bit outside the box and try and find that deal or that gem from somewhere else, because I don't think they're actually going to be able to buy within the league unless they're going to, you know, teams that we spoke about in part 1 and part 2. You know, like, do they go try get Doucouré from Everton, or, you know, like guys like that, you know, who are good.
Yeah, I'll get you.
But, you know, or do they try to get Allen or from Everton? I know I'm using 2 Everton examples there, but, you know, that's probably the level that they're looking to poach from, because I don't think they can poach from any of the teams that we just spoke about today, other than like Tielemans, who's said he wants to leave. I don't see them getting anyone from Brighton, West Ham, or Man United. So, you know, I don't see a Ruben Neves wanting to leave Wolves, or a Moutinho wanting to leave Wolves, or Dendoncker to go play for Arsenal.
No.
So, although they're a big club historically, I don't think they're going to have to try and cast a net. They're probably going to get some Brazilian guy in, because that's sort of been their scouting lately. And to be fair, it's been working. Like, the majority of their signings in the last 2 seasons have actually been pretty solid.
They've been good. Ramsdale, good pat on the back. Tomiyasu, good pat on the back. Jesus looks like he's going to be good.
Martinelli.
Yeah. Well,
the only one that's been iffy has been Sambi Lokonga, but he's young. Oh, and Tavares. But I kind of feel for Tavares.
Tavares is young enough too.
Sounds like he's gone on loan though. So that, for him going out on loan, tells me they're bringing a left back in. That's the thing. So
and that's Lisandro Martinez,
who's going to push Tierney, or one of them plays centre back.
Yeah, which I think Martinez will play centre back alongside
Ben White.
Yeah, more
Gabriel.
likely with one of them two, and then Tomiyasu plays on the right with
Tierney
on the left till he gets injured.
Until he gets injured, they use Martinez at left back.
Martinez goes to the left. That's just pretty much what's going to happen.
The insurance policy.
That's what it is. That's what they're doing. For me, a lot of how good Arsenal are going to be next year is going to be a lot on Saka, and that's a big weight of expectation. But what a player! Yeah. And then if Jesus can hit the ground down running, I am a big believer that Martinelli will be a starting player on that left hand side. I just don't know if it's going to be at the start of the year. Because if he was going to be a starting player from moment 1, everyone should have him in his fantasy 6 mil.
Yeah, I know. I love him. He's one of my favourites in the league.
I can't do it.
Until the role's there.
Until I know he's going to be nailed on.
Yeah. And he's going to play a lot of minutes as well this year with the Europa League and the Cups and things too. So
5 subs in the Prem, mate.
I keep forgetting about that.
He's going to play a lot.
And he can play through the middle. That's what's dangerous.
I want to get him in my fantasy team so bad. That's one guy I look at and I go every time. I'm just like, I could free up so much money to get you in. But
yeah, you'd have to take away a Primo and then run like him as your 5th midfielder as a 6.
No, I know what I'll do in my team. I know that he comes out exactly who he comes out for.
There you go. Fair enough.
Mason Mount to Martinelli and
that's a big shout.
To Jesus.
Big shout. Back in the Arsenal.
Yeah, I know.
Jeez.
Tomiyasu at the back.
Oh.
Arsenal players.
I couldn't do that.
And my prediction for Arsenal is they're going to finish 5th or 6th.
Yeah, I'm in the same bracket, to be honest.
And Arteta gets a sack.
No, I don't know.
Finishing 5th or 6th, and they're going to lose patience.
You never know.
And it's going to end up with Brendan Rodgers at Arsenal, and it's going to end up with Ange Postecoglou at Brighton.
Brighton? Leicester.
Oh, Leicester, sorry. Apologies. I looked at Brighton on our run sheet. Actually, you know what? Speaking of Brighton, Potter could get this job.
Yeah,
if he wanted it.
That'd be massive. That'd be more likely, probably, than Brendan.
That or Patrick Vieira?
Nah, not yet.
At Palace?
He's building at Palace.
If he has it, Palace have a really good year and they sack Arteta.
I don't know. I just don't think the board's going to sack Arteta because
they haven't, and when they should have, and now they've actually built something and got some sort of stability. This is the time not to sack him. So this would be the most Arsenal time to sack him after a season when they finish 5th or 6th. Yeah, for me, I think Arsenal should go gun-ho at the Europa League because I actually think they could win the thing and get in the Champions League that way.
That's their best chance, I think.
I think so too because
the top 4 is too far away at this point.
For me, Spurs have improved so much. Chelsea are Chelsea. We are who we are, and City are City.
Yeah.
For me, it's a very hard four to break into. The only reason I think United can break into it is if Ronaldo's not there, Ten Hag and the way they could play could be good enough.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there because the squad's there already. So they've got the existing squad in place. No one else has the team or the finances to break into the four currently. This was Arsenal's chance this year and they blew it.
Yeah, they should have been there. They obviously did.
Yeah.
Last 5 games of the season, they didn't do themselves justice. But,
Yep.
We've seen history of that throughout the year with Leicester, throughout the years with Leicester doing that. So we'll see. But there's enough there for an Arsenal fan to believe, and there's enough there for an Arsenal fan to know you're going to be competitive and have a good year. But are you going to be there in the four come end of the year? I don't think so.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that too, to be honest. So lots covered. We've just ticked over the hour mark. I'm pretty sure we don't have any questions, so we'll leave that anyway. If you are, or if you've made it to this point of the podcast, make sure you get your questions in for the top 4 review. That'll be out next week in the lead up to the Premier League season starting. So if you've got any questions from either of our reviews, or you want us to go back and sort of review things, because it has been a few weeks since we did start this series, make sure you get in the Discord, which is in the description of the video or the podcast. Damo, thank you for your time again and your insight. Much appreciated.
All good, mate. Come on, Cam Smith. Come on, go win the Open, buddy.
Yep, and we might be able to have a bit of a review on that one next week when we are back for our top 4 preview. But from me, this has been episode 55 of the PD Sports Podcast, and we will see you very shortly for another episode and another fun discussion about our Premier League preview.